The federal agents arrived at 6 a.m., not for me, but because of me. $47 million in fraud, one bridge that could have killed thousands, and a CEO in handcuffs on the morning news. 3 years ago, I was just a quality control manager who refused to sign a piece of paper. They said I was paranoid, unstable, unemployable. Turns out I was right. This is how I destroyed the man who destroyed my life, legally, methodically, and completely. My name is Robert Miller, and for 12 years I made sure steel didn't kill people. That's not an exaggeration. As head of quality control at Titan Manufacturing, every beam we produced carried my signature, invisible to everyone except those who knew where to look. We supplied infrastructure projects across 3 states: bridges, hospitals, schools, the skeleton of civilization, hidden under concrete and paint. My father taught me welding when I was 16. A perfect weld is silent, he'd say, blue flame reflected in his safety glasses. Strong joints don't announce themselves, they just hold. That philosophy guided my work. Silent integrity, invisible strength. Every morning at 6:47 a.m., I'd walk our production floor. The smell hit you first. Hot metal mixed with cutting oil, a cologne no store sells. I knew each machine's personality. The North End press that ran 2 degrees hot. The welding station where Jimmy kept his son's Little League photo. Details matter when lives depend on your attention. My wife Sarah called me obsessive. She wasn't wrong. I'd catch myself testing the tensile strength of pasta at dinner, calculating load distribution in grocery store shelving. Once I made her wait 20 minutes at Home Depot while I explained to a contractor why his beam selection would fail in 5 years. Occupational hazard of seeing the world through equations and safety margins. But that obsession saved lives. I just didn't know it yet. Arthur Crane bought Titan Manufacturing 3 years into my tenure there. Not inherited, purchased with hedge fund money. He arrived in a Mercedes wearing shoes worth more than most workers' monthly salary. But he wasn't cartoon evil. That would have been simpler. "Robert, good to meet you," he'd said that first day, firm handshake maintaining eye contact. "I've reviewed your records, impressive work. We're lucky to have you." For 8 years, Crane seemed decent. He attended safety meetings, asked intelligent questions, even approved my budget requests for new testing equipment. He'd bring donuts on Fridays, knew people's names. The staff had learned to trust him. Then Titan's numbers started sliding. Not catastrophic, just steady decline over the past year. Construction contracts going to cheaper competitors, the economy squeezing margins. I watched Crane change like metal under too much pressure. Subtle at first, then obvious cracks. The meeting that ended everything happened on a Thursday. October, cold rain hammering the windows. Crane's office had that artificial warmth expensive buildings maintain, but something felt off. "We need to discuss our steel supplier," he said, sliding a folder across his desk. Zhao Industries. I knew them. I'd rejected them 8 months earlier. "Their bid is 30% below our current costs," Crane continued. "That's the difference between survival and bankruptcy." I opened the folder, scanned the specifications. "Their certification is fraudulent. Look at these test results. The brittleness index is off the charts. This steel would fail catastrophically under stress. Define catastrophically. People die, buildings collapse, bridges fall, lawsuits worth hundreds of millions." Crane leaned back, fingers steepled. "You're being dramatic. I'm being accurate." I pulled out my tablet, showed him the data. "Here's their steel under standard load. See these microfractures? Now add weather variation, metal fatigue over time. How much time? Could be 5 years, could be 5 months. Depends on conditions. So it might last through warranty periods." The words hung there. I understood then what he was really saying. You're gambling with people's lives for quarterly earnings. His face shifted, mask dropping for just a second. I'm trying to save 300 jobs at this company. Sometimes leadership means making hard choices. Not this choice. I won't certify defective materials, I said. I'm not asking you to lie. Just adjust your parameters. Industry standards have wiggle room. Not my standards. His face darkened. Not angry, disappointed, like I'd failed a test. Robert, I like you, but business requires flexibility. Sign off on Zhao as our supplier, or I'll find someone who will. Then you'll need to find someone. You're sure about this? Your job, your reputation, all for some theoretical risk? It's not theoretical. It's physics. Clean out your desk. Security walked me out 17 minutes later. Box of personal items, sympathetic looks from co-workers who couldn't afford to speak up. Pete, the guard, whispered, "This is wrong," as we reached my car. Sarah took it well, considering. That night, she found me staring at welding equipment in our garage. "We'll manage," she said. "You did right. Right doesn't pay bills. We have savings. You'll find something better." But I didn't. 3 months of applications, interviews that went nowhere. Word spread. Crane made sure of it. Difficult personality. Inflexible. Not a team player. References that damned with faint concern. I started spending days at Murphy's Coffee, owned by Lucy Murphy, who remembered my father. She'd refill my cup without asking. Never mentioned I'd been nursing it for 3 hours. The shop became my office, searching job boards while rain traced patterns on windows. My friend Marcus worked procurement at another firm. We'd meet Thursday nights at a sports bar, pretend to watch football. "Crane's telling everyone you're unstable," Marcus said one night. "Claims you had paranoid delusions about safety violations. They're not delusions if they're real. I know that. But who's listening?" Sarah picked up overtime at the hospital. I sold my father's vintage tools, except the welding mask. Started making metal sculptures to feel productive. Abstract things that looked angry. The garage filled with twisted steel. Each piece a silent scream. By month 6, things got desperate. We'd burned through half our savings. I delivered pizza 3 nights a week. A 43-year-old engineer with 2 degrees carrying pepperoni to teenagers. One delivery took me past Titan's headquarters. Crane's Mercedes still in its reserved spot. Pristine while I drove a Honda with 200,000 miles. Sarah never complained, but I saw her checking our bank balance every morning, calculating how many months we had left. We canceled cable, ate rice and beans, told ourselves it was temporary. Pride is expensive when you're unemployed. 8 months after firing, a Tuesday evening, everything changed. Murphy's had one television, usually ignored. But the news caught my eye. A reporter standing beside massive steel beams, Titan Manufacturing logos visible. "The new Metropolitan Bridge project begins construction next month," she announced. "This $47 million investment will serve 100,000 daily commuters." The camera panned across the beams, and I saw it. The distinctive color coding system Zhao used, a triple stripe pattern I'd documented in my rejection reports. Not proof, but enough to investigate. I had to be sure. That night, I drove to the construction site. Chain link fence, security lights, but the beams were visible from the public sidewalk. I zoomed in with my phone, hands shaking. There it was, stenciled on the steel, ZI 7745. The exact batch I'd rejected 11 months ago. The batch that failed at 60% of rated capacity. My knees actually buckled. I sat on the curb, doing math in my head. Bridge capacity, 50,000 cars at rush hour. Average 2.3 people per car. 115,000 lives trusting steel I knew would fail. Not immediately. Crane was too smart for that. But eventually, inevitably, those beams would crack. I couldn't sleep. Sarah found me at 3 a.m., laptop open, surrounded by printouts. What are you doing? Research. Research for what? Justice. The next morning, I visited the city planning office. Public records are beautiful things. Contracts, bids, specifications, all legally available. The clerk, a kid named Tommy, looked bored as he processed my request. That's a lot of documents. I've got time. It took 3 weeks to see the pattern. Titan had underbid everyone by millions. Impossible unless they were using substandard materials. But suspicious pricing wasn't proof of fraud. The Metropolitan Bridge was just one project. I started checking others, finding similar patterns in bids across multiple states. I needed evidence they were billing for premium steel while delivering garbage. That meant following money, tracking shipments, documenting lies. Without access to Titan's internal systems, seemed impossible. Then I remembered something. For 12 years, I'd kept what I called shadow files. Not company property, personal notes, copies of test results, emails about safety concerns. Professional paranoia, my father called it. Document everything, because memory fails but paper remembers. The storage unit was across town, a small 5x10 space I'd rented for 8 years, $40 monthly that Sarah never questioned, because I'd always been paranoid about documentation. Climate-controlled, rows of boxes labeled by date. I found what I needed in the 2024 files. Original test results for Jiao Steel. My refusal to certify, stamped and dated. Emails from Crane, increasingly aggressive, demanding I reconsider. But the real treasure was something Crane never knew about. Every report I'd ever filed contained a digital watermark, a hash code in the metadata proving I'd created it, when, and what it originally said. I'd started this practice after witnessing a lawsuit in 2014 where falsified documents destroyed a colleague's career. Simple paranoia that became salvation. 12 years of unforgeable documentation. I spent 2 months building my case. Not vigilante investigation, everything legal, public record, or my personal property. Marcus helped indirectly, mentioning industry gossip over beers. Heard Titan's payment structure got weird. Offshore accounts, shell companies. The investigation consumed me. I developed a system. Mornings at the library researching construction law. Afternoons at Murphy's comparing shipping manifests with public bid documents. Evenings organizing evidence in our garage. Sarah would bring dinner to my makeshift command center. Bills spread between steel samples I'd legally purchased from scrapyards. When I examined these samples closely, I confirmed my suspicion. Xi series markings, the same batch codes I'd rejected. I learned to read financial documents like engineering specs, tracking money flow through shell companies by matching incorporation dates with contract awards. Every connection had to be provable, documented, legally obtained. The picture emerged slowly. Titan was billing the city for X750 grade steel at $3,200 per ton, while delivering Jiao's Xi grade at $1,100 per ton. The difference went to offshore accounts. Classic fraud, but executed carefully, though the FBI would later trace these accounts directly to Crane through banking records I couldn't access. I compiled everything into a report. 153 pages of evidence, cross-referenced, annotated, indexed. No emotion, no accusations. Just facts arranged to tell their own story. I used the same format federal prosecutors use, learned from studying public case files at the library. Each claim supported by 3 independent sources. Each accusation backed by documentary evidence. A roadmap so clear a first-year law student could follow it to conviction. I didn't go to journalists who'd sensationalize it. I sent it to 3 places simultaneously: the FBI's Public Corruption Unit, the Department of Transportation's Criminal Investigation Division, and the State Attorney General's office. Sent certified mail, return receipt requested. Paper trails matter. 6 weeks passed. I'd started to think nothing would happen. Then, a Wednesday morning, 2 sedans parked outside our house. Federal agents, badges visible walking up our driveway. "Mr. Miller, Agent Davies, FBI. We need to discuss your report." They spent 6 hours in our dining room. Sarah made sandwiches they didn't eat. Agent Davies, a woman who looked like she'd seen everything, went through my evidence methodically. "This watermark system. You can prove these documents are authentic? Every hash is unique, time-stamped, linked to specific batch numbers. I can demonstrate it if you have a laptop." I showed them. Their technical specialist verified it independently. Davies finally looked up, something like respect in her expression. "Mr. Miller, you've built a federal case better than some of our own investigators. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Would you have believed a fired employee without evidence?" Fair point. The investigation took 14 months. Not the dramatic raids you see on TV, just systematic dismantling of Crane's scheme. Forensic accountants tracking money, engineers testing steel samples, interviews with everyone involved. The FBI treated me like a consultant, not a witness. They'd call with questions about specific batch numbers, asking me to decode Titan's internal numbering system. I spent days creating charts showing the correlation between my rejected test results and the steel currently in bridges. Through Titan's own records, they found emails where Crane explicitly negotiated with Zhao's U.S. representative for flexibility in certification documents. They pulled security footage from construction sites, proving delivery of ZI-marked steel while invoices showed X750. Every piece of evidence I'd provided led them to 10 more. The investigation spread like cracks in bad steel, one weakness revealing another. They found more than I'd discovered. The fraud extended to 16 projects across 3 states. Total theft, $47 million. Crane had been smart, keeping individual thefts below amounts that trigger automatic audits, spreading them across jurisdictions. But federal investigators are patient. They built an airtight case, using my documentation as the foundation. When arrests came, they were quiet. Agents appearing at Crane's office on a Tuesday afternoon, reading rights while employees watched through glass walls. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified for 2 days, explaining technical details to the jury, showing them what catastrophic failure looked like in slow motion. The prosecution played my recorded refusal to sign false documents, dated 8 months before my firing. On cross-examination, Crane's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. "Mr. Miller, you lost your job, your savings, your reputation. You have every reason to want my client punished, don't you?" "I want the truth documented," I replied. "Steel doesn't have opinions. These test results don't have emotions. They're just numbers, and numbers don't lie." The lawyer pressed harder. "But you do have emotions. You delivered pizza to teenagers. You watched Mr. Crane succeed while you struggled. That must have been humiliating." "Yes," I said, looking directly at Crane. "It was humiliating. But being right isn't revenge, it's just math." The courtroom went quiet. Even the court reporter paused. Crane's lawyers argued he was a businessman making tough decisions, that I was a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. But numbers don't lie. Steel specifications don't have opinions. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. 16 years federal prison, no parole for the first 10. The judge's words still echo. "Mr. Crane, you didn't just steal money. You weaponized infrastructure. You turned bridges into time bombs, schools into death traps, hospitals into hazards. The fact that no one died is pure luck, not mitigation. Your greed could have been mass murder. Crane's face went gray. His wife left the courtroom before the sentence was finished. I heard later she filed for divorce that same afternoon, moving assets while she still could. The Metropolitan Bridge project was halted, steel replaced with properly certified materials. The delay cost millions, but no one complained. The story made national news for exactly 2 days before something else grabbed attention. Titan Manufacturing dissolved. Assets liquidated to pay fines and settlements. The building's an Amazon warehouse now. Most workers found other jobs, the good ones anyway. Crane's wife divorced him before sentencing. Heard she kept the yacht. I never got the Hollywood ending. No one named protocols after me. But the FBI recommended me to their contractor certification program. I now audit steel suppliers for government projects, making 3 times what Titan paid. It's quiet work, invisible unless something goes wrong. 6 months after the trial, I got a call from the National Transportation Safety Board. They'd done stress modeling on the Metropolitan Bridge using the actual Jiao steel specifications. Their conclusion: catastrophic failure would have occurred within 18 months, likely during winter ice loading. Estimated casualties: 100 to 200,000 deaths. They wanted me to know. My stubbornness had prevented the worst infrastructure disaster in state history. Last month, I drove across the Metropolitan Bridge. New steel, properly certified, carrying 100,000 people daily who'll never know how close they came to disaster. At the highest point, I pulled into the inspection lane and stopped. Looked down at the water 200 feet below. This is where the break would have happened. Maximum stress point, right where the steel transitions from compression to tension. 18 months from installation, this spot would have failed. Rush hour, winter, ice load. The simulation showed cars falling like toys. So many the animation software crashed trying to render them all. My father was right. A perfect weld is silent. It holds immense pressure without applause. You only notice when it fails. It didn't fail, not this time.